I've been able to speak to a lot of different families and organizations on their experiences with childhood cancer, and being able to use this platform as an outlet for them, as well as a way to reach a new audience aside from social media. So today I have with me Honey, who is going to detail her experience with childhood cancer, how that has affected her, and we're going to be able to have a conversation back and forth. And so, Honey, I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Okay, so yeah, my name's Honey. I am 29 years old. When I was 13, in 2007, I was diagnosed with acute lymphocytic leukemia. It took them like 7 months to diagnose me because they kept on misdiagnosing it as like something else, as me just like going through like a growth spurt. At one point, they thought it was a bunch of different things. So I started feeling this pain in my hip that just like wouldn't go away. And my parents would take me to the doctor. The doctor would dismiss it. They'd be like, "Oh, you got hurt yourself. Like you don't like remember, like whatever." And I was like, "No, that's not it." But the pain would come and go, and every time it came back, it just got worse and worse and worse. And they're like, "You have arthritis. You have this. You have that." And my parents are like, "No, it's something else. Like figure it out." So that started happening in June. I wasn't officially diagnosed until November later that year. And they had me on prednisone prior to even like knowing that it was cancer and all that too. So it was a hectic 6, 7 months before. And I was in 7th grade when it started, and then 8th grade when I was finally diagnosed. It was really a lot of anxiety.
Right. It's understandable. And I think, I think you hit on a good point in the beginning. One of the main keywords there is misdiagnosis. And I think in this community, there is, especially in our case as well, there's months and months and months of misdiagnosis. And I don't know what the percentages are, whether it's doctors not wanting to go that distance to see that it's something worse, or if it's them not wanting to believe that it could be something worse, and it's the more of the treat 'em and treat 'em idea of,
Hmm.
it's got to be this. Our daughter had a rare form of brain cancer, and she was diagnosed with constipation for months. That's what it was. That's what they thought it was. Or, again, growing pains, growth spurts, whatever. So it's really kind of a common theme, I think, that we don't really, people don't see it from the outside. They're like, well, why can't you just figure it out? Because I don't think they're looking for that incredible idea. They're looking for, well, it's got to be something easy because it's easier to
Right.
treat, right?
Right. Which is just like frustrating for like I feel like the parents. And I honestly I didn't know. I was a naive little kid. I didn't know like what cancer was other than the commercials that you'd see on TV of like St. Jude's and things like that. And when they finally told my mom that I had leukemia, they thought it might be cancer, so we had to run some like blood work again and whatnot. Like I didn't know that leukemia was a cancer, and I was like, oh, it's just like another like disease. It's not cancer. Um, so it was a lot to take in when they finally like sat me down and explained it. Cause like as a 13-year-old, like your whole world is just like flipped upside down. Cause you're at that age where you're like able to understand like concepts like that. So it was hard, especially being taken away from like becoming a teenager and like doing teenager things and going out with friends and like being in school. It was a lot. I shed a lot of tears.
I mean, then it's completely understandable. And I think, that's again, it's looking at it from the outside and seeing what it changes. Cancer is a family diagnosis overall. It's never just the one person, however that one person is going through it, but the
Yeah,
whole family dynamic changes and how we have to live and change our lifestyle if necessary to, you know, cater to what has to be done. So
absolutely.
what types of, or what was your treatment protocol for this?
So a majority of it was chemotherapy, oral chemo, and then I had, if I'm remembering correctly, about 10 days of radiation. It's like full body radiation. That took a lot out of me, surprisingly, even though the sessions were like 10 minutes long. They weren't very long. Yeah. So I can't remember all the medications that I was on. Um, There's one that they call like the Red Devil. That's like
Doxorubicin. Yeah.
that's what it is. Yeah, I was on that. And then there was like vincristine, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a lot of antibiotics because my body never reacted well to the chemo. So I do a lot of outpatient, um, but some of the outpatient appointments always turned into inpatient appointments because my body never reacted well. So I had to start on antibiotics, vancomycin, which my body does not like because I get red man syndrome. So I like break out in a rash all over my body. So they still had to give it to me. They just had to slow down the rate when they did. Um, but like remember like one night specifically, it was like during May. I don't know why I remember this night so vividly. I was like in my hospital room, eating my chicken noodle soup, watching what is that show? Oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of the show, but I was like watching TV. It was like Nick at Night, and all of a sudden I start getting like a rash on my face, my chest, my legs, my arms. So I press the call nurse button. They come in. They gave me a shit ton of IV Benadryl, and of course that like calmed me down and whatnot. But after that, they just had to slow down the rate of the vancomycin because that's how I'd react to it like every single time.
And that is the common theme amongst the way that children are treated for cancer is not just the antibiotics, but the cancer drugs themselves. It's
Yeah.
not so much that, we like to say that they're watered down versions of regular chemo drugs. What
Mhm.
it is, in truth, is it's spread out over a longer period of time that it's given to you. So it's not coming
Right.
at you all at once. You're
Mhm.
getting that same dose. You know what I mean? Like it's, JC's, there were some of them were over 12 hours that you would get these drugs
Yeah.
running into your body. And you knew that the drugs were out of your body once the color of your urine changed, and especially with some
Mhm.
of this stuff. And that was one of those things where it's like, okay, you have the same thing, that doxorubicin. Everybody they understand what it's called and they understand how bad it is. And I remember having a conversation with our oncologist because at that point with the young child, you're trying to make jokes or trying to be fun just because it's a scary situation.
Right.
And one thing that they gave her to counteract a reaction was methylene blue, which turns your pee bright neon blue, and it was a joke. And she's like, yeah, I can change it any color you want, but you're not going to be happy with some of the drugs we have to give you to change it that color. These drugs are horrific, and what they do and what they're meant to do is they're doing their job, which is clean everything out and kill everything. The problem is they don't know what not to kill, and then they're giving it to kids based on their body weight and height and size and things like that, just over longer periods of time. It's not that they're taking it and giving you a smaller dose, it's
Right.
just a longer period.
Longer period of time. And my treatment was, let's see, I started December 1st of 2007, and my treatment ended March 26th of 2010. So a little over 2 years of chemo, and I had a lot of ups and downs like during treatment as well. But like one of the main things that honestly helped was one of the nurses that I had. Like she's the reason why I'm also going into nursing. She had the same type of cancer that I did, around the same age. So when she'd be like, "Honey, like this is like what's going to happen. Like this is how you're going to feel." Like she meant it, like cuz she had been through it as well. So just like having someone on the other side understanding the experience like helped tremendously.
Yeah, you do. If you can, when you're going through these types of things, especially as a child, if you can come across a nurse or a doctor or a child life specialist, any of these types of people that have dedicated their life to working with kids, but then actually take a personal kind of approach with you as opposed to you're just another patient, just another
Right.
number. And, they can make it a lot better because this is a scary situation. It's a scary time. It's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of what ifs, the amount of paperwork that a parent has to sign, stating what may happen in worst case scenarios, to have somebody come in and be able to make it a little bit better for your child and take a little bit of that pressure off is an incredible thing. And if they're, to me, and I've said it before on previous episodes, I will all day long commend these people for what they do on a daily basis and being able to kind of take away that you're just a number aspect of it, and turning into a personal thing, and you're heroes. You truly are. Because it takes a special person to work with kids in general, whether you have a lot of patience as a daycare worker or whether you have just a good heart because you're there with kids that are going through the worst time of their life. It takes a special person. So you truly are amazing people, and I don't think they get the recognition they deserve, or they don't get the recognition because the ones that treat you like a number.
Yeah, no, I love all my nurses. I mean, I'm still friends with them on Facebook and we still keep in touch. So they made such a difference in my life, and I'm so beyond thankful for each and every one of them. Like one of my nurses, Renee, I still like text her on the daily, like updates while I was like in nursing school and whatnot. And she's honestly been one of my number one supporters throughout it all. I love her.
Yeah, and that's truly amazing if you can find that and you stick with it and you hold on to it, and that's one of the good positive sides that come out of all of this. And I wouldn't say there's a ton of silver linings that come from a diagnosis like this or a battle going through cancer, but there are some. And the silver linings that we have are truly amazing. I
really
think
shitty experience, but you get to meet some great people along the way.
Yep, and that's the positives you have to take from it. And
yeah. So, and then I don't know if you know about this camp, but it's called Camp Okaizu. It's a nonprofit camp for kids with cancer, and they have different like weeks throughout the year, but they also have weeks for the siblings. So it's like just the siblings going. It's 3 weeks for the siblings, 3 weeks for oncology patients, and then they have weekends dedicated for like the entire family like can go. So I was able to do that as well, and I got to meet some like other kids going through similar experiences and just like have that little community there, which is really nice.
And that's huge, right? That's a support group of people that understand you, and a support group of people that you know are going to be there if you have questions or if you ever need anything. But I honestly think that one of the best parts of that, and I've heard of there's some that are here too that are through our hospital, is the amount of support that they offer to siblings. I don't think give them enough credit and understanding of what they go through. Whether it's supporting their brother or sister, whether it's being labeled honestly as the kid in school whose sibling has cancer, or dealing with how their sibling is changing, all of this type of stuff. I mean, my girls went through it, and our oldest daughter did not want to tell anybody when she went to high school about everything that was going on because she didn't want to be labeled. Not because she didn't care, but she didn't want those type of people to be around her just because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that when you have that kind of support for siblings, knowing that, like I said, it is a family diagnosis, that truly is an incredible thing.
Yeah, so like my siblings like got to go and they got to be friends with like other kids whose siblings are going through something like this. So that was really nice for them. And then I got to meet other kids that were, I mean, obviously not every kid there had the same cancer, but like just knowing someone that was going through something similar helped. And you would go there and you'd be able to do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do because they made you feel normal. As normal as you can be during a time like that.
Right. I think that's a huge goal. Whether it's camps like that, or sending care packages or child life specialists, and like, it's to make you just kind of forget, even for a minute, for a second, of what's going on, and just distract you and take your mind off all of it. Because it does. The one thing that we can notice 100% is the attitude that kids have when they're going through this, especially the real young kids. The true innocence of it is incredible, and it's something that we're missing as an adult world right now. Is innocence, and just an understanding, and just being nice to people, no matter what the circumstances. And that's something that these kids are just incredible with. And so to watch them go through it, and like I've always said, and even with this conversation, it's like, if you speak to a child that is going through it, has gone through it, it'll change your perspective on life.
It
100%.
will, because like it's so crazy because they were always so positive, like the little ones especially. Like I remember this little boy, he was probably like 5 or 6 years old, and he was so smart, like so smart for his age. Uh, he told me, he's like, when I grow up, I'm gonna be a doctor so I can take care of kids like this. And I swear to God, I almost started crying in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, for him to like even say that, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's an incredible thing to listen to and watch and know how much they want to give back at
Yeah,
a young age when they should just be being a kid.
right.
All you're
Like,
supposed to be worrying about is being outside playing, being with your friends, doing stupid shit that, listen, I'm 43, that we all did as kids, doing all that stupid stuff, knowing you're going to get hurt, knowing you're going to get in trouble, and they're worried about other people. And I can honestly say as a kid, I was worried about myself at that point.
right, right,
That wasn't what I was facing, but I mean, now, see, the thing is, we've all been, I think, conditioned, right? We've been conditioned to believe that what you're going through, what you went through, what these kids are going through is all curable, that it's all based, it can be fixed, and that we are fixing it. We're conditioned to believe that because of, and we, on this podcast, we call them the commercial people, and everybody knows who I'm talking about. It's like we've been conditioned to believe that this is not a big deal, that it's under control, that we're fixing
right,
it, that that cures are happening, and that the 80%, right? 80% of kids. And unfortunately, what that means is I think a lot of people have been desensitized to actually wanting to make a change or believing that there's anything wrong.
right,
And success stories are wonderful. And believe me, I'm talking to a success story right now, right? That's what I want. I want to hear the victories. I want to hear, what you're going to do with your life, and that you're moving forward in a positive manner, and that you can still speak about your experiences and let people know on a more personal level. But there's a lot of people that don't have those success stories, and those are the ones that kind of get left out. But I want to have more like this, and I don't want anybody to ever want to not share victories, because not everybody has them. Like, we have to be excited about those victories. Um, so that's just where we kind of always go with that. But so now that you are in nursing school, and you're moving through all of this, and you're taking it in a positive direction, and kind of taking more of the negative and turning it into a really positive outcome.
yeah,
Um, I think, let me ask this. So once you're determined, there's a difference between NED and cancer free, right? There's a difference there. I know it
right,
doesn't
yeah, yeah.
seem like it, but
Yeah, no,
um,
there's a difference.
so what does life look like now after you've moved through with this? What does life look like as far as, do we just throw our hands up and take our foot off the gas? Because I think that's a lot of people what they think.
They always say like you have to get used to like the new normal, but I'm like, what's the new normal, you know? It's like you can't cancer for me is like always in the back of my mind. I mean, I've been 14 years cancer free at this point now, and every single time like I get like a little pain in my hip where like the pain first started, or like something like little happens, like I immediately think like, oh shit, like the cancer's back. And like that thought never goes away. It's always there. And it's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary to think that it can come back, because like I've heard of stories where people have been cancer free for like 10 plus years and it comes back. It's a scary thought to have.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing, right? That's that you're cancer free, and that goes back to that 80%. 80% cure rate means that you're cancer free for 5 years.
Right.
After 5 years, you're considered like that's it. You're cured. You're done. That's what the
Mhm.
world believes. But much like with what you're saying and what we're saying, what I've experienced and other families, is that once that diagnosis comes through, from
Mhm.
that point on in your life, a bruise is never just a bruise. A cough is never just a cough. You're always worried that something is coming back, or something is, relapsing. And it's a scary situation. It is I guess, a new normal way to live, is you're just always on the edge of your seat,
Oh,
not
so
knowing,
much.
when's the other shoe going to drop type of thing. And I can only, like, for me, it's a different feeling than what you feel, but that fear or that worry, that concern. And at the same time, you kind of have to just live your life and try not to, I don't know how you block it out, but to try not to believe that all the time.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine that it's easy.
No, it's not. But I mean, I'm very thankful to still be here and to hopefully like one day make a difference like my nurses did for me. So, yeah, I'm just very thankful to still be here for the second chance. Just kind of got to take each day as it is and live it to the fullest, for
Right.
all my friends that didn't make it,
Absolutely.
got to live it for them and myself, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. You have to take care of yourself. I know that we all, yeah, I call it the airplane oxygen mask theory, is where you're supposed to put your mask on first before you help somebody else, because you're no good to anybody if you can't breathe, right? And so it's one of those things where, we all want to put ourselves out there and take care of everybody and make sure they're okay, but we have to be okay. So you have to be okay in order to move forward and be able to do that.
Yeah.
But it's a good attitude, and it's a good outlook, and it's a good way to live. We recorded a podcast last night, and the best advice that we were given was live every day with no regrets.
Absolutely.
So don't ever believe that there's something that you could have done different. We all could have done something different yesterday, or changed what we said or what we thought or what we did or whatever. It doesn't matter. Today is today. We have to live like there is no tomorrow, every single day.
That's what we got to do. I still
Um,
have a lot of what ifs though.
yeah, you
What
will
if I did
always.
this? What if I did that? Even
Yeah,
like during treatment, I'm like, what if I didn't get a Broviac at first and I didn't get the infection through my Broviac? Because there was a lot of ups and downs during my treatment.
hmm,
I got an infection through my Broviac. It went to like this part of like my spine up here and then to my hip. Luckily, the one right here, the infection right here, like wasn't terrible. But the one in my hip was so bad that my hip dislocated itself. And then I had to get an external fixator in there, and that was in there for like 8, 9 months. And then I ended up developing a vascular necrosis down the line, and I dealt with that for like 5, 6 years. And then back in 2018, I got double hip replacements. So still dealing with like 8 years later, still dealing with like shit that I went through because of cancer. It's like never ending.
right.
There's always something there.
Yeah, it's yeah, and but you know what, you're here, and whatever has been thrown at you, you've been managed to come out on top, and so that's what we focus on. But it's
Yeah.
the side effects of everything you go to, and I often say sometimes, or at least, I mean, from our aspect of it, the side effects a lot of times are worse than the actual cancer itself, the actual diagnosis. Not all the time, but I believe that the side effects of what you go through, or even the lifelong changes, like your life has changed forever,
Mhm.
no matter what, with surviving or anything like that, things are always there.
Yeah.
Um, so you spoke on a few. Were there other notable side effects that you went through with your treatments?
I mean, one of the biggest things was the hip issues that I had, and then um, honestly, that was about it. I got a lot of infections, so I was always in the hospital for one reason or the other. But the hip was one of the more noticeable things, just because it caused a lot of other issues, the AVN, and that was super painful because it got to the point where I was like walking, and with every step I took, I could literally hear like my hip bone just like rubbing up against each other. Like you can physically like hear it.
Right.
And it was super painful. But yeah,
I
I
can.
think that was
Yeah.
from the chemo, the steroids, the dislocation. So like all that trauma just put together caused all that.
It's I don't it's incredible, not incredible in a good way, but it's an incredible thing to listen to, honestly, because I've never heard the same story twice. I've heard but it all lines up, right? It all kind of goes down the same path. You hear a lot of similarities, but never the same story of what the treatments or what the cancer, what that type of stuff will do to your body. It's along the same lines. It really is, but it's always different variations. So I haven't heard that one before, but this is what you deal with in this community. This is what that kind of stuff that we don't hear about. You hear about they went in, they lost their hair, they looked a little bit weak, but they're up running and playing. Like
Yeah.
I think we we associate your hair falls out with cancer, and that's it. I
Yeah.
honestly, that's the world's view of that person is sick, is their hair falls out. However, there are some cancer treatments that do not make your hair fall out. You can
Yeah.
go through
Yeah.
chemos that it doesn't happen. So therefore, how do you know you're sick? Well, there's
Hmm.
something wrong with her hip, but would you associate that with cancer treatments? Would you associate getting a rash with something like no? Because you can get hives from going outside and having whatever. You get stung by a bee or something. You don't associate what these drugs or what the treatments or what the cancer will do to you anything
Hmm.
outside of the universal symbol, which is a bald child.
Yep. That's what they show you in all those commercials.
And they're always happy.
All it's advertised. I know, they're always smiling, they're always happy.
I'm just gonna make a massive assumption that through your entire cancer treatment you smiled the whole time.
I surprisingly did because I tried to be the positive person for everyone else that was around me. And I didn't like asking for help.
Hmm.
I tried to do everything by myself. So when the hip stuff happened, that was kind of like my breaking point, and I was like, fuck this shit. I've been positive for like this long. That got me nowhere. I mean, I kind of gave up a little bit, not gonna lie,
Hmm.
when it came to like physical therapy and things like that. But I hated asking for help. Like during surgeries, they're like, "Oh, turn this way, do that, do this," and I was like, "No, I can turn myself. I might be a little weak right now, but I can turn myself. I can do it." Um, yeah, so that part really sucked because I tried to be as independent as I could, and I tried to be as happy as I could because I didn't like. I mean, I know my parents like put on a front too because they didn't want me to see them being like sad, and I didn't want them seeing me sad.
Right.
So I tried to hold it in as much as I could. And then even when the child life therapist would come in or like the psychiatrist would like come in to talk to me, I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Like I don't have anything to talk about. Like I'm good." What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, but that's just a commonplace, and that's not a stubborn child. I mean, that's probably a little bit of it with kids, but at the same time, even at 13, right? You don't want to be messed with when
No.
you're going through all this stuff. You don't want, when you're in there, if you're in overnight hospital stays for whatever reason, and they have to come in every freaking hour and check vitals and stuff. You're at a point where it's just like, leave me the hell alone. I don't want to be messed with. I don't want to be this, that, and the other. And being independent is, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that as adults, to be honest with you, we asking for help is not something that's really conditioned into us. I think we all want to just be independent,
Mhm.
and we're going through that. To be as being as strong as you need to be or want to be, and proving that I don't need your damn help. I'm going to get up out of this bed on my own, and it's I don't and I listen. My daughter went through it. She didn't want to deal with it. She wanted to do things on her own, and and like you said, as too, my wife and I, we definitely did not ever break down in front of her. It was behind closed doors. It was be strong for her, that kind of stuff, and I think that's good. But at the same time, you know, you do the best that you can when it comes to kids to really treat them with the respect that you deserve, as you are growing up really really fast in
Yeah.
that moment and learning things that you shouldn't know. And when kids are learning about the solar system, and learning the planets, you're learning the names of chemo drugs, and and you're learning what this means, and you're flushing your own ports out at young ages and stuff like that because you don't want people messing with you, and you're showing off battle scars literally.
Literally. So
And so
many.
being strong, to be honest with you, I think you've earned it, and I think you deserve to be able to say, you know what, leave me the fuck alone. I just want you
I
to
wanted
let
to
me do that. Yeah,
time, but I know.
yeah. And that's okay. And you know what I mean? And we had a friend of ours, and her daughter was the same, well, 1 year older than our daughter, and when she didn't want things done, she would tell them. She would tell the nurses flat out, leave me the hell alone. I
Good for
don't want you
me.
in here. I want you out of this room. I'm done
Yeah.
with this situation. And you know what? That's where these kids, all of these kids, you included, give the respect that you deserve and that you've earned in a short period of time. You don't demand it, you earned it, you deserve it, because you are going through something that as adults we all bitch about, we all complain about every single day we get up. You're having road rage, you're flipping somebody off, someone cut you off in the line at Walmart. um, you know I guess from my side, the man flu is a real damn thing. Okay, it's documented evidence. It's a real thing. We we're big Sallies, we're big babies when it comes to that stuff. And what are we crying about? You know what I mean? That's that whole seeing that perspective on life. What are we worried about? You know.
Yeah. True.
So yeah, that's just. I mean, that's where we are on that. I can't get away enough about this. We talk about how strong. It's like, oh, be strong, be strong, be strong, and it's kind of a cliche. And anytime I meet somebody in this community and they're going through something, I'll always say, I don't have words. There's no words I can say that are going to make it better because I've
Yeah.
heard them all.
Yeah.
So the whole be strong thing, yeah, absolutely. But we're not telling the kids to be strong. They're just doing it on their own and with the attitude and the
Yeah.
smiles. And it's an incredible thing, because I know that, I get sick about once a year, and it usually knocks me on my ass, and I'm a big baby, flat out. I mean, there's nothing to hide. It's the real thing. And I can't do it the way that they did it. I can't do it the way that my daughter did it. I try, but
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just the innocence. But it's incredible.
Yeah, that was honestly like one of the annoying things that I feel like I've had to deal with when I was younger. Because, like, obviously, my family would talk about me to friends and coworkers and things like that. So whenever like I met them for the first time, they're like, "Oh my gosh, we've heard so much about you. Like, you're so brave. You're so this. You're so that." And I'm like, I guess like I'm just like kind of doing what I have to do to be better, like what are my other options? Like, as morbid as it sounds,
Mhm.
it's either to like keep trying and keep living, or to die, I guess.
No, that's 100% true, because as parents, right, we're told, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you get up every day and you do this. I don't know how you do it, because we weren't given a choice.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing for the kids. I don't know how you're so strong and brave. It's, well, number one, they're a kid. And as much as they know, they're also a kid, and understanding to a deeper level of what's going on isn't there. But it's because they weren't given a choice. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's no understanding as to why this happens to kids. That's the biggest problem. And so they woke up one day and had a headache, or they woke up one day and their leg or their hip hurt, right? And you have no
Mhm.
idea why. They just they weren't given a choice as to get up and fight now,
Yeah.
because there's even if you have a 2% chance of survival, there's a 100% chance of what was going to happen if you don't try.
Right.
So that's kind of the level that we're at.
Exactly. Exactly. Um,
So I'm gonna ask this question, and if you've never heard it, let me know. But this is one thing that, especially when it comes to leukemia,
okay.
were you ever told, or did you ever hear, well, at least that's the good cancer?
Oh, 100%.
Oh,
All the
there it is.
time. All the time. They're like, at least it's not going to be that bad. Because, like, I mean, at that point when I was diagnosed, it was like one of the more common childhood cancers. So people just like assume, they're like, oh, it's more known, so it's going to be easier to treat. It's going to be easy to go through. And I'm like, no, cancer is a good cancer. Like, what the fuck are you guys talking about?